radio quiz.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm David Fetter, Executive Editor Technical for Prepared Foods Media, and welcome to a Prepared Foods series on technical trends in new product development. Today, we're taking a look at some hot trends in foods and beverages, really hot trends. Specifically, new trends in hot peppers and in formulations that use them, and hot sauce themselves, and all the products that make generous use of hot and spicy palate igniters. Our guest is none other than Jody Denton, Senior Research Chef. See, I already fucked up. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Our guest is none other than Jody Denton, Senior Research Chef for PepsiCo's Frito Lay. Welcome, Jody.
How you doing, David? Long time no see.
I know, hanging in there. So, and that reminds me, before we start, I have to disclose to our audience, Jody and I go way back, having been friends and professional chefs in Dallas back in the 80s. And at one point, both of us even worked for the Rosewood Hotels group. That said, chose Jody today because he has an amazingly extensive set of credentials for this topic, starting from his boyfriend. This is his boyfriend. Oh, that'll be good. Cut. Instead, can you tell that I'm riding on fumes today? I was up working at 2 in the morning, and I get up at 5:40 every day. So that said, Jody has an amazingly extensive set of credentials for this topic, starting from his boyhood in Texas and through to his many years as a highly respected and talented chef, and then on to his more than a decade at Frito Lay, where he helped develop some of their spiciest chips and other snacks. So Jody, thanks for joining us, and let's start off with the hot sauces. We've seen a massive increase in the number of brands, especially boutique brands of hot sauces that hit the market. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing there?
Well, the biggest trend lately has been hot sauces that call out some of the super spicy peppers, like ghost pepper, Carolina Reaper, Trinidad Scorpion. I saw one not too long ago with Naga Viper.
Wow.
Some of the really, really hot peppers, and then they usually don't use quite enough for it to blow your head off completely. As in they're kind of taming them down so that someone will actually use them. But then every now and then I come across one where it's like really living up to the name of the pepper.
Name names if you're
yeah,
allowed
exactly.
to.
It to me, those chilies are all pretty wonderful in hot sauces because they're chilies like habanero and Scotch bonnet and ghost pepper, Carolina Reaper. They have these really nice undertones of like tropical fruit notes that I find really appealing in those chilies. Matter of fact, I was teaching a class or conducting a presentation at Frito several years ago around chilies, and as kind of a little experiment at the end of the class, I told the class that I was gonna eat a whole ghost pepper and describe the experience. And I invited anyone in the class. There were about 50 people in there, and I invited anyone to come up and join me, and nobody did. They declined. But I ate the ghost pepper, and I'm a chili head. I can eat hot stuff, and it doesn't really faze me. The hotter, the better in general. And it was just such a fascinating experience because the very first thing I got in my mouth was this wonderful tropical floral note from the chili. I was tasting the flavor of the chili itself, and then this one spot in the middle of my tongue lit on fire and spread throughout my mouth over about the next 10 or 15 minutes, and then over the next 10 or 15 it went away, and it wasn't one that stayed with me for very long, and I was left with that nice floral chili note in my mouth. And it was a really, really great flavor. And you just think of those chilies as just delivering heat, but they deliver a lot more than heat. They deliver very characteristic flavors of that chili.
Yes, in fact, your experience mirrors my own with Trinidad Scorpion. One of the things that impressed me the most when I first tried Trinidad Scorpion was exactly that. The fruit note hit first. And, people forget that botanically, a chili pepper is a berry. And so I did get that rich berry note. And then, like you said, the heat hit. But with the scorpion pepper, I noticed it had a very short half-life. And within minutes, that powerful heat was gone. And I have to confess, being a fellow Texan, since then, I put scorpion pepper on just about everything. And I just love it for that.
I'm still a big fan of anything habanero and Scotch bonnet. Scotch bonnet being my favorite, but you don't see as many out there with Scotch bonnet.
You don't. It does
Yeah.
seem to be coming up, though. It's kind of like a sister to the habanero, and it does
Yeah.
seem to be coming into its
But
own.
I remember 30 years ago cooking with Busha Brown's pucka sauce, which is
Mhm.
all Scotch bonnet. It's a beautiful sauce. It's really good in cooking. It's great in recipes. It's so flavorful, and it's really all Scotch bonnet. And it's not, it's not overpowering with vinegar, which I just, sometimes vinegar in hot sauce is kind of great, but not in every hot sauce. I don't think, they need to figure out their processing better than just lowering the pH until nothing will survive, because vinegar is not always what you want all the
Right.
time. Yeah.
No, I taste lots of hot sauces, and you're right. There's some that like classic Tabasco
Yeah.
is
It's,
perfection.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
perfect.
But
And
it's all vinegar. It's like
yeah,
vinegar and, chili
the
heat. That's it.
you get the heat and you get the
Yeah.
flavor, and there's
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
like it. And I
Yeah.
guess that's why
Yeah.
it's got 154 years of, 155 years of, of.
Yeah. I got to go tour Tabasco on Avery Island. Yeah, it was pretty
I
interesting.
have too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's
awesome.
really amazing.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And I love when they find, oh yeah, here's a barrel that's been, hidden for 80 years, and then they,
Oh
bring.
yeah, those aged Tabascos that they
Oh,
have, like
God,
that's
they just,
insane. They're so
yeah.
good. They
What
sent me
what
home. They sent me home with a little set of aged
that's
Tabascos. I still have them.
oh well, you gotta eat them, man.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I had the original Trinidad Scorpion Tabasco, which I thought was excellent, and it still is. But then they added a lot of fruit to it, and I think it kind of masks some of the other, some of the flavors of the actual scorpion pepper. But I'm still addicted. There's
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
So, so yeah, then let's talk about your subjective personal viewpoint. What are your favorite hot sauce trends happening now?
Hmm. Well, you know, other than those individual chilies being called out, I would personally, hmm, I don't know that I see a lot. Well, truffle is one. um, that has blended made its way into the hot sauce camp, which I'm not sure I'm a fan of hot a truffle in my. I'm a big fan of truffles. I'm a big fan of hot sauce. I'm not sure I want hot sauce in my truffles. I had, or and truffles in my hot sauce. I had the Momofuku truffle chili crunch, and I just prefer the regular chili crunch. And I've had the Melinda's truffle hot sauce, and I like the regular hot sauce better. And I don't know if truffles go for me, but good for them for going there.
Yeah,
A little variety in the marketplace. A little novelty, a little. If it sells, do it.
yeah, no, I'm with you there. So tell me this: what about your kids? Because my son, 6 years old, he wants to bask on everything, including his waffles. And
Well, this
and my
brings
daughter used to be a chili head, and then when she
Yeah, this
got
this
out of
this
it.
this actually brings up an interesting story that I think is pertinent to this conversation. Um, so when my oldest daughter was born 25 years ago, um, I decided that I'd really like for her to grow up loving spicy foods because I'm a devout chili head, have been my whole life. Growing up in Texas, kind of did that. Going to taquerias in San Antonio and, picking up the bottle of hot sauce on your taco and then realizing that it's actually really hot and now you need a Sprite. But uh, I started feeding her a little bit of spicy food early on. Like when she started eating solid food, I gave her chorizo and eggs for breakfast,
Mm.
with a little cheese, and she loved it. Okay, so and so she was always kind of accepting of it, and I would just push it, push it, push it a little more, a little more. Then when she was 4, her sister was born, and her sister was a whole different animal. Her sister was a very picky eater, did not like spicy anything. Black pepper was too much. Like it was just, she didn't like spicy food and she didn't like a lot of food. And she had to smell her food before she'd eat it. And if she didn't like the way it smelled, she's not putting it in her mouth. And so I decided that I would also like her to grow up liking spicy food. But how to do that? I decided to conduct an experiment. And that experiment ran for 20 years.
Woo.
And I'm the chief cook at home. I cook for my family almost every night. Now I'm an empty nester and I cook for my wife every night, but I cooked for the family every night. And I would intentionally always put just a little more spice in the food than I know they wanted. And I would constantly be hit with, "Oh, Dad, you made it spicy again." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm sorry. Those peppers were hotter than I thought." Or, "Oh, I guess I just put a little too much of those chili flakes in that spaghetti sauce." And, just I was always apologizing. And my wife wasn't in on it. And she would beat me out. Always make it spicy, and they don't want it spicy. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, "I'm sorry. I just, I'd apologize, play the fool." And I did that for literally 20 years. And then my last daughter went off to college, and she is now a junior at NYU in New York. And she came home last summer. And while we were having dinner one night, where I put a little more spice than I thought she wanted, she asked me a question. She said, "Dad," like right in the middle of a bite of food, brought to her mind, said, "Dad, is it possible that you've always been putting a little more spicy stuff in my food than I wanted?" Because none of my friends can handle any heat. And I'm the only one that, like, we go to a Thai restaurant and I'm asking for the 5. And they're all like, "Two, can I have a 2?" She's like, "No, I want the 5. I want some heat, And now both of my daughters love spicy food. I've confessed all my sins, and told them. And she was, when I told her, like, she did not expect me to say yes.
Oh dear.
She expected me to say, "Well, no, I just sometimes, mess up, blah blah blah." No, I said, "Oh yeah, no, since you were born, I've been putting a little more spice in your food than I knew you wanted, and even though you complained about it." And she's like, "Oh my God, you have got to be kidding me. I'm going to tell all my friends about this. This is so crazy. It's really cool. I like spicy food and it's your fault." I'm like, "Yeah, that's no," but the premise, the hypothesis was that, exposure leads to acceptance and actual desire for spicier and spicier foods. And that's what's happening to America, and more broadly the world. They're getting more and more exposure to spicier foods. And so the acceptance of that, if you look at the graph, we've looked at the graph here at PepsiCo, and if you look at the graph over the last 50 years, it's a straight line up all
Absolutely.
the way. It's like,
Yeah.
it does not dip. It's like more and more and more and more spicy, spicy, spicy. And you even break it down by the regions of the country that, the Northeast, where they're not used to a lot, they traditionally are not used to a lot of spice. It's the same line there as it is in the
Right.
South.
They're having in some areas even a higher growth
Yes. Yep.
spurt.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
also
That's what we see,
this influx of different culinary
which I
traditions.
think it's cool,
Oh, it's
you
awesome.
know,
Mm.
you
Uh,
know, but
yeah.
for me, for me in this company, First of all, I love working for PepsiCo, but they are a very risk averse company for sure. So,
All
when they, I mean, even their, they've made bajillions of dollars on the branding of Flamin' Hot across the portfolio, even into beverages, and and I mean, it's just so tame to me. They don't really make a spicy product. They will label it spicy, but
for
they're
you and
really,
me, yeah.
even their habanero salsa, to me, just this is just to me, I'm sure to Gen Pop, that's spicy, and that's why they do it. Like it's,
We're outliers. You and I are outliers.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we're Texans, we're chefs. I mean,
yeah,
we grew up with chili pepper on our tongue.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
and I like your story about your daughters because my daughter is a year older than your oldest, and I kind of started her the same way. I didn't say anything. I just put Tabasco, on her eggs, or a little, some chili flakes in the sauce, and she just dug it. And she had an opposite thing.
That's my oldest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she had an opposite thing where she just kind of like her tolerance for spicy food faded as she got older. And I mean, it's kind of average right now. It's not that she hates it, but it's just
right.
a hotter palate than my
I've
son.
had the same effect on my wife, by the way.
Oh,
She
okay.
she wasn't all about spicy food when we got married 27 years ago, and now she's going for the habanero sauce on her taco, just the same as I am.
My wife is from Michigan, but
Hmm.
she loves hot food. So, it makes it easier to cook when you don't have to cook two different recipes. Now my son, he's still going for the hot sauce. So, I expect him fully to go for the scorpion sauce one of these days. So,
Hmm.
let's talk about the use of hot sauce in formulations. And you mentioned beverages, but what are some of the interesting trends in hot foods or hot beverages that you've spotted? You mentioned truffles, and then
Well, I mean, it's just beginning to be applied in places where, you know, I'm trying to think of an example, but it used to be spicy stuff was only in cuisines that were associated with being hot, and you just kind of see it kind of spreading out into more and more areas, fried chicken being one. Fried chicken's
yeah.
not it's not traditionally the original southern fried chicken is not a spicy thing, and of course the Cajuns are outliers because they spiced theirs up a little bit.
Right.
But now every fried chicken chain has their line of spicy chicken, and some of them are really spicy, where the breading is spicy, and they're tossing it in a spicy sauce, a Nashville hot, all that kind
Right.
of stuff,
Right.
and so it's kind of spreading out, on your burger. You go to
Yes.
a
Yes.
place and they're offering like the Diablo burger or the, Hellfire burger or the whatever, and it's got habaneros on it or grilled jalapenos or whatever. Yeah.
That's right. You're right. There are a lot of, even though jalapenos are mild, you're right. You're seeing a lot more use of chili peppers in mainstream. I guess you'd call them just mainstream American dishes.
I just read an article that jalapenos in America are getting more mild by the year from the
We had
from the
some.
horticultural standpoint.
Yeah, I just got back from the Dallas Kosher Chili Cook-Off, where I've been a judge for 15 years, and there were a couple of chili formulations that they put out there that had jalapeno in them, zero heat, and two of them even had fresh jalapeno slices in there.
Well, the
And
thing is that
like,
I've noticed is that it's 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 hit or miss because I made some borracho beans the other day and I cut up some big chunks of jalapeno in there and they came out pretty spicy.
hmm,
But like if it had been 2 weeks later, maybe I would have got a batch where I was like, oh, this isn't spicy at all, and add twice as much jalapenos, and it still wouldn't be spicy. It's literally so. something in the agriculture, the weather, the way they're growing it's taming down the chilies. Maybe they're growing the chilies in a climate that's cooler, and over time they're like dropping their heat because the hot climate definitely adds to the heat of the chilies, and that's why you get spicier chilies in India than you do even in Mexico because it's hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some of those were deliberate though, because they were deliberately growing mild jalapenos, especially giant ones, so that you
Hmm.
could, for stuffing and actually for food.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if there was enough cross-pollination, because jalapenos have become like hatch and shishito, where it's a hit or miss
Hmm.
on the same vine, but it is sometimes hard to get consistency. And I'll ask you about that a little later, because even on the same plant, I've got a chili pepper plant, that I've been growing for, a couple of years now. And it just depends which side of the bush I pick from sometimes, that, it'll alter the heat. And, I guess it has to do with direct sunlight, but I can
Yeah.
pick pepper off the same branch even, and one is going to be hot and the other won't. But
Send me
jumping,
your chili pepper plant. I'll find a way to kill it. I'll kill any plant.
I have to confess, this is the first one I've had that really took off, and
Green thumb is not my
no,
thing. No, no,
I've
no,
killed
no, no.
rhubarb. Don't be embarrassed. I've killed
Oh
rhubarb.
wow, wow.
I killed horseradish last year. Those are two
Yeah.
things that are supposed to be
No,
impossible.
I kill fiddle leaf fig trees like candy. Like just like, here, come on in my house and die.
So, jumping back into the hot pepper and formulations, we're talking about that graph and statistics. I was looking at a Instacart survey from a few years ago, and it said that 74% of the shoppers that they polled several thousand, said that they put hot sauce, with every meal. They're eating hot sauce with every meal. And then there were some other polls I looked at, and depending on the poll, anywhere from 75 to 95% of consumers asked noted that they love spicy food. So, we're looking at the present. Let's look forward a bit. What sort of hot and spicy formulations do you think are going to trend over the
Mm,
next year or two?
wow.
I'm hitting you with a hot.
That that's that's a tough one. I mean, well, I think you're going to see further spread into places that don't traditionally have, like you're going to see, Bob Evans is going to make jalapeno mashed potatoes, and I mean, it's like things where you didn't expect it. Spicy uh, chilies in your Thanksgiving dressing, or the gravy, or you know I'm personally guilty of like I'll take things that are not, like just traditionally not spicy, like I make a minestrone at work or at home, feed my wife her minestrone, and I'm dumping habanero sauce in mine, and and just about anything else. So I do think that one trend that I'm kind of hoping to see. Okay, so you talk about the kind of single varietal naming of peppers in hot sauces, and right now they really only do that with jalapeno, habanero, and then all the super spices. I would love to see more like single variety chili hot sauces, like guajillo and puya and ancho, the dried chilies, and then some of the fresh chilies, the poblanos and uh, manzanos, and different chilies that are have really great characteristics, on their own, and should be called out in the name. I'm hoping that you'll see that. I, it's chilies are climbing that adoption curve, and different chilies are getting name recognition. And I think
It's like,
as they
yeah. You mentioned the Naga Viper, which
Hmm.
I haven't tried yet. I hadn't seen it in the formulation yet, but you've seen a hot sauce with the Viper chili?
I saw that a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
because
I was
it,
I should
I
have bought
wanted
one.
to, yeah, I wanted to try one because it kind of falls right between the ghost peppers, 1 million Scoville units, and the scorpions 1.5 million Scovilles. The Naga Vipers
It's
ranked
like 1.2.
3, yeah,
Yeah,
1.5, yeah.
1.3. Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
So, and then there's
yeah. I love that the hottest chili keeps the newest hottest chili is keeps climbing that scale.
no, yeah,
It's insane.
let's see if we're thinking of the same example. Have you read about the most recent
What's that?
Pepper X from last year? Um,
Pepper X. No, did
came out
not hear
last
about
year,
this one.
and it took away Carolina Reaper's title as the world's hottest. And Carolina Reaper is 1.7 million Scovilles, but it shot past it. They're claiming it's got nearly 2.7 million
Holy crap!
Scovilles. And
Yeah.
for comparison,
Well, I,
police pepper spray is 2 million.
I'm gonna say that there is a point when you got to be careful because you get to a point of Scoville heat where you're risking physical harm.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You can burn your throat. You can like, there's bad stuff that can happen with this stuff. You get it in your eyes, and
Oh,
it's not
or other
good.
place. Yeah.
Not good.
So,
Not good.
um, yeah, I don't think it'll be used in formulations, but hey, they said the same thing about the Reaper and the Scorpion peppers, and we're seeing those used in sauces and snacks. Let's jump to the technical side because
Hmm.
you've developed your fair share of hot and spicy items for work. What was the most challenging product for you to develop?
Well, the most challenging one I can't tell you about because we didn't launch
Oh,
it, and it's proprietary.
okay,
But
no,
it
no,
was challenging. It
no.
was really good in the end, and
Uh,
it's unlike anything that's out there. And I'm really hoping one day they launch it. Like it's
oh man.
completely in a new category of hot sauce, but I can't talk about it.
Ah, very exciting though.
The one hot sauce I've had the opportunity over the 13 years I've been here to work on a pretty wide variety of hot salsas and dips and hot sauces and whatnot, and we did launch a line of hot sauces which stayed in the market for a couple of years and then went away sadly because I thought they were like great products, but I don't think that they made the margin that Frito is looking for, and they didn't quite penetrate that oversaturated hot sauce market, like they were hoping to.
Very hard
They
market to get
they
into.
were really hoping that brand recognition of Tostitos would like carry them over the. But it was a line called Toppers, and the one that there were three. One was two were pretty mild. One was a avocado salsa. One was like they called it Fiesta Ranch, which is kind of a spicy ranch. But the one that was actually hot was the spicy red chili, which I developed using using puya chilies,
Ah,
which have a very similar color and flavor profile to guajillos, but they are a little fruitier and distinctly spicier. They deliver more heat than than guajillos, and that was really uh, it had a tomato base, but it was a lot of chili in there and not too much vinegar, just barely enough to get it, at the right pH. And onion and garlic, and not a whole lot else. It was a pretty simple formulation, you know,
cool.
and
I want to
and
know the one coming out.
yeah, well,
You
I'm
can't talk
hoping that
about it.
one
You
day
gotta
I'm hoping
tell.
one day we'll do it.
And
But
you can send me a test sample so I can.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
all right. So, what would be Chef Jody Denton's top 2 or 3 rules or considerations that the product developers out there should have in mind when they set out to develop something fiery and flavorful?
Well, I have excuse me there. I have a couple of pet peeves about manufacturing these things at scale.
Mhm.
And I understand the why, but I just think that they sometimes need to work harder to get around it. But um, most of the time, a great deal of the time, unless you're a small manufacturer, you're trying to achieve consistency of product. Okay,
Right.
so you don't want your medium salsa to be medium sometimes and hot other times because of variations in a natural chili product.
Yeah, like we spoke about with the
So they they end up using these deheated chilies, which in my opinion are also deflavored.
right.
They don't have the characteristic chili flavor that the chili comes from, because in the
But they
deheating
move the
process,
food. Yeah.
it loses all that characteristic flavor of the chilies, and then they deliver the heat through capsaicin, and so that they can get a really precise heat level every time. And I get it, I really do, but I think that they need to use more uh, not deheated chilies and maybe top it off, and maybe batch test the Scovilles and top it off if needed. But you really lose a lot when you don't use the real peppers in creating the product. And then I think using I think sometimes there's a lot of products that get used in making hot sauces that are not chilies, and there's the most basic are garlic and onions and things like that, and tomatoes sometimes, and then other vegetable products like carrots and whatnot, and then different fruits and vinegar. And I think that you got to be a little bit careful about not having those ancillary ingredients overrun the chili, because the hot sauce to me is about the chili. It needs to be about the chili. It needs to say, I am a chili product. I'm
No.
not just a hot vegetable sauce.
Yeah. That, oh, what
you
a great
know
way to put it. Pepper forward, you know?
yeah.
So, um, uh, all right. What other tips would you add? Uh, we were talking about the varieties of fresh peppers that, like the shishito, the hatch, and the jalapeno, that can vary from batch to batch. And is there a way around that variation? Well, like you said, you get test Scovilles with each batch. But
I you know I think if you talk to someone who's in charge of manufacturing at a plant,
mhm.
they're going to say no. Or the food scientist that's developing it, because that's just like that's that's one hurdle of difficulty too far to have to batch test Scovilles and real time top it off. So I don't know what the answer is, but uh I'm definitely vocal about that around here. so
What
so
about
if they haven't heard me say it, they will at some point in the future. But I'm always pushing them. you know I do a lot of uh co-development with our product developers and food scientists on different products. And when they come with me to one, if they come to me with one that is supposed to be chili forward
Mhm.
and I don't taste the chili, that's my first comment, is I need to taste the chili.
Send them back.
And send it back. And they have other ways to get to that. And with our flavor companies, they can I don't know. It's just goes. It's just not how I cook at home, and I know that you
Well,
can't cook. You can't cook in a factory the way I cook at home.
yeah,
So
well, no.
so
When you're making a
the lot
million pounds of
they
something,
as
yeah,
long as long as they don't forget that in the end you've got to taste that chili. Do
yep,
it however you need to, but don't send out a product that you're calling out a chili and you can't taste it.
right, right. So, What about dried peppers? Anything our developers should know if they're using dried peppers?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I
Let's
can't.
do a cut.
Yeah, let's do a cut. I can't think of
No, no, no,
anything
no. Okay,
specific about
so
dried.
because I'd sent you something about that you don't want dried peppers kept around too long because the flavors and the volatile oils and those
Oh, yeah, yeah,
dissipate.
yeah. I don't
And
see
then
that.
grind them,
Where the hell is
grind
that?
them as needed. Don't, I don't want to say don't buy ground because I don't want any of our spice company advertisers to have a shit fit. But,
Yeah,
but we can say, when possible, do the grinding yourself as needed. So, for like, don't keep it around too long because of the volatile oils, dissipating,
yeah.
and grind as needed if possible. Okay, so
Okay.
3, 2, 1. So, what about the use of dried peppers? What sort of tips do you have for our developers when it comes to using dried peppers?
Well, I know that this usually isn't a problem at manufacturing scale because they usually only order the product that they need for a run. But don't keep them around too long. I know if I keep them around in my pantry and I pull out some peppers that I've had in there for a year, some guajillos or anchos or whatever, they don't quite deliver the flavor. The volatile oils dissipate, and you end up with a less than robust chili flavor that you're looking for. They'll still deliver, but it's not quite the same. If you did them a fresh batch versus an old batch, you're definitely gonna notice the difference.
And then, should they be, yeah, we'll cut at this too. Talk about, when possible to grind as needed as opposed to pre-ground.
Yeah.
So, okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of honestly, I'm a fan of partially grinding chilies as needed and then blending them after they've been hydrated in the sauce, and as opposed to using ground powders. I just think you come out. I think you come out with a different flavor. You come out with a different mouthfeel.
Mm.
Um, it's a very different thing. So grind as needed, and when possible blend after it's rehydrated rather than grinding at all.
Excellent. I know we're running out of time. How about a quick, fun, completely subjective question before we go?
Oh, wow. Okay.
What's the worst use of a chili pepper or hot chili pepper in a product that you've ever come across?
All right. Well, you know, uh, my personal pet peeve, and I'm not sure why this is, because like I order the spicy margarita, I have the spicy margarita with the jalapenos floating in it, serranos or whatever. I like my Bloody Mary spicy. I don't like spicy soda.
Mm.
I don't. If you're, I just don't. I feel like it. I want soda to be refreshed. I'm not a big soda fan, just so I
Mm.
don't drink a lot of soda personally, but I don't want it to be spicy when I do have it. You know, I want it to be, sweet and refreshing.
Definitely on the same page there. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to add beer to that because I've seen some, hot
I
chili
agree.
use beers,
I
and
agree.
it's like,
No, don't want
no,
it in my beer.
chili,
No,
and a chili pepper or a hot, spicy product and a cold beer, yes.
yep,
Together,
yep.
no.
No, I'm a beer purist. No limes, no fruit,
Yeah,
no salt on my rim.
yeah.
My grandfather, being a lifelong Texan, used to salt his beer. He'd actually shake the salt shaker into his beer.
I've seen that, but nah.
Yeah, nah, no, don't want that.
So,
No thanks.
Jody, this is great. We need to get together more often, both, for these things professionally and then just, for old time's sake. I wish we had more time here. Thank you for spending this time with us, sharing your expert insight into hot and spicy sauces, foods, and even beverages. We definitely have to have you back, man. Would you be
All right.
willing to come back, chat with us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Well,
I'll
thank
come
you.
back.
And I also want to say thanks to our audience members for joining us. I hope you found this hot topic as delicious as I did. Be sure to check out our media menu at preparedfoods.com. And you'll find many more videos and podcasts and articles of value for today's food product developers and manufacturers. We have a comprehensive library of material, all kinds of valuable resources. Again, I'm David Fetter, Executive Editor Technical for Prepared Foods Media. This was a talk with Jody Denton. He's Senior Research Chef for PepsiCo's Frito Lay. Till next time. And we are out.
All right.
Uh,
How's the family?
Thank God, everyone's doing all right.